So my mother died in hospital, and she died of pneumonia. We'd all had our chances to say goodbye, which was great. But after she died, her body was taken to first of all to the hospital mortuary, and then picked up by the undertaker and taken to the undertaker's premises. I wasn't even sure where that was, to be honest, somewhere in Edinburgh. So suddenly there was this realization that I felt that she needed to come home. She needed to come back to the place she'd lived for over 20 years. I realized that the kind of the impersonal nature of this undertaker's, I said I'd never been there, didn't know what it looked like, but I knew I didn't want the kind of closure with my mother to be in a strange place. So it was something important about her coming back home, to basically be laid on the bed in the coffin, in her bedroom, and that's what happened. It was very easy to do. We just rang the undertaker and said, look, we'd like this to happen, and they, sure enough, the next day they brought the coffin round, laid it in the bedroom, and then what that meant was we all had time to spend time with her individually and to talk to her, as I say, to really create a form of closure, to say that the last things that we needed to say to her in private, with her lying on the bed in her own home. So that was really important, and it, yes, as I say, I would have hated to do that in some strange place, and I think it would. I don't know. I believe in something, in a spiritual existence beyond this life. So I think it was probably, although this is supposition, but I have a sense it was important for her to be in her own home as well. And then after 2 days, she was taken to, well, on the day of the cremation, her body was taken to the crematorium. So easy to arrange and really important, and I'm glad it happened so gracefully and easily, and as I say, I can only speak on behalf from my perspective, but it was important for me to have really had those moments with her in her own home. The only thing that I was a little bit surprised with was her makeup. The undertakers, obviously they put some makeup on the face, and it wasn't quite how I remembered my mother. So that would be the only thing that was slightly, shall we say, negative, or that I would criticise. I think they'd gone a little bit overboard on the makeup, and I'm not sure why they do that. It was almost slightly theatrical, and some quite strong lipstick, and quite a lot of kind of rouge or something. So she didn't look as natural as her. She wasn't somebody who wore a lot of makeup anyway. So that was the only thing that I would find a little disconcerting, but I mean, I quickly adjusted to that. It was more her presence. It wasn't, I was aware that I was seeing a shell, if you like. It wasn't her. Her soul was there, and that's what I mean. I felt that she was somewhere nearabouts, but in terms of, I was looking at a shell, but nevertheless, it was important that she was there, that even her corpse, her body was there, even if she wasn't there. And obviously, her spirit was around in the room, if you like, in the home. So there was no smells. There was nothing untoward. There was no noises or anything. There was nothing happening that I needed to be concerned of. It was a gentle, graceful thing. My mother's body, basically, I could only really see her face and a bit of her hair, and otherwise she was in a sort of shroud. So it felt very comfortable and very, very easy. And and as I say, it was just the fact I could sit with her and just say my sort of final goodbyes. I think that was the most important thing. But yes, in terms of squeamishness or things that I might have been worried about, there was nothing to worry about now. I don't remember the undertaker giving any specific advice about what to do when my mother's body was there. So no, there was no particular instructions or anything. It was all quite easily done, and as I say, the delivery of her body was quite graceful, and there she lay, and then they took her away. So no, it was all very, very easy. It was all comparatively easy. I felt that by bringing her home, it was a very qualitative difference bringing her back home. It felt important. It felt necessary. It felt far more personal and intimate, the fact that she was in her own home. If I'd gone to an undertaker's and seen her in some room, it would have been a very different, it would have been an alien experience. The atmosphere, the place would have been alien. I wouldn't have known it. But more importantly, the presence of my mother, or my mother's body there, would have just felt unusual, too different. I needed to be in her natural surroundings, if you like, where she'd lived, where she'd lived for, as I say, over 20 years. So it felt really important. And if that hadn't happened, I would have felt very, well, something missing, something quite big missing in that experience of closure, just after somebody's died. When you're very raw, feelings are raw, when you're very open, very vulnerable, it's important that you get a sense of comfort, feeling comfortable, and being in a place of comfort emotionally, especially. So yeah, I think that feeling of intimacy and just being at home, I think, was really important for that form of closure. I sat next to her, and it was just a very comfortable feeling. I did talk to her body, but I think I knew I was talking to something more than a body. If you like, it was the physical representation of who she was at that point, because her soul had left her body, in my belief system. So I knew she wasn't that body anymore, but nevertheless having her body there, and recognising her, fortunately, that she hadn't died in some tragic or violent circumstances where, her face had been mutilated or something, thankfully. That there she lay, to all intents and purposes, asleep. So I did talk to her. I didn't sing to her, but I talked to her. And I think the fact that I wasn't in the hospital situation was also important. It was a much more familiar situation, talking to her, if you like, in her home. So it was a very graceful thing. There was a sweetness about it. It wasn't dramatic. It was just something, as I say, about a stage I felt that that was important to go through, for that completion, for part of the grieving. And the grieving still goes on beyond, but it was just necessary at that time. And I think about bringing someone home, to a home that they've been in and loved for a long time, I think is important. Important maybe for them, although that's supposition, but especially important for the people that are left behind, I think.